32. No one can ever love like that. Lavanya's POV. Symbol of love? He sounded genuinely puzzled. Key. Unbelievable. Shaking my head in disbelief, I asked, Haven't you read history? Well, I was an economics student. He shrugged. What is it with Americans? I mean, in school, I clarified. Oh yeah, but it wasn't about love or anything. It wasn't that interesting. From what I remember, it was all about wars, explosions, weapons, politics, death, cruelty, bloodshed, slavery. He kept rambling on, his words darkening my thoughts. Feeling disgusted, I interrupted. Okay, stop. I get it. He fell silent. Taking a deep breath, I turned to the Taj Mahal outside my window. The magnificent structure stood like a silent testament to undying love. My voice softened as I began to tell him the story behind the symbol of love.
Jackie's POV. Back in the 16th century, the Mughals ruled India, and one of their greatest emperors was Shah Jahan. He was only 14 when he first saw Mumtaz Mahal, a 15-year-old girl, in the Meena Bazaar market. The name Mumtaz suddenly piqued my interest. So Mumtaz was this ruler's love interest? I asked, seeking confirmation. She nodded with a slight blush. She was the most beautiful girl he had ever seen. Really? So that smiley-faced idiot was complimenting my girl by comparing her to the most beautiful woman in Indian history? Nice trick, smarty pants, I must admit. The moment he saw her, he decided she would be his wife. Maybe it was India's first love at first sight. She chuckled. Love at first sight. Does that even exist? Ask yourself, lover boy, my inner voice taunted. He declared that he would marry her, and after a lot of struggle, they finally wed. Of course, she wasn't his first wife, but she was undoubtedly his favorite. Lucky guy, I smirked. She shot me a sharp glare from the corner of her eye. I quickly put my hands up in surrender. Okay, sorry, what happened next? Shaking her head, she continued. While giving birth to their 14th child, she suffered complications and... Wait, did you just say 14, 14? I was dumbfounded. Yes, she huffed. My God, no wonder she had complications. 14 kids, that's insane. I complained. Do you want me to finish the story or not? She snapped, clearly irritated. Oh, of course I'm listening. I nodded rapidly, urging her to continue. When Shah Jahan realized his beloved wife was dying, he rushed to her side. He promised that she would be his last wife, that he would never marry again. And when she asked how much he loved her, he vowed to build an unparalleled mausoleum over her grave. She smiled at his words. And then she passed away. Oh, I exhaled, feeling unexpectedly heavy-hearted. He was so devastated that, as the story goes, he locked himself in a room for 3 days, refusing food and water. When his attendants finally opened the door, worried for his life, they found him transformed. His hair had turned gray, his face lined with wrinkles, and he looked years older. She paused, taking a deep breath before continuing. I don't know if it's entirely true, but people say he mourned for nearly 2 years. And then, remembering his promise, he used all his wealth to build this wonder for his beloved late wife. It took almost 22 years and thousands of workers from all over the world to complete what you so casually called just a monument. She shot me a glare at those last words, and I blinked, shifting my gaze to the grand 22-year-long creation before us. Shit! This is a tragic love story. It's clearly a sensitive subject for her. I can see it in her eyes. I must have hurt her feelings with my earlier remark. She's deeply invested in this story, and I can see her emotion shifting from sorrow to subdued admiration. But the darkest part of this tale is what happened next, she continued, her voice quieter now. Shah Jahan was so obsessed with keeping his promise that he ordered the hands of the workers to be cut off, ensuring they would never build anything like the Taj Mahal again. Whoa, what? I asked, completely taken aback. Yes, she nodded solemnly. And there were nearly 20,000 of them. My eyes widened in horror. Holy shit, that man was insane. The Taj Mahal was named after Mumtaz Mahal, but the real tragedy was yet to come. She let out another heavy sigh. Oh God, what now? What tragedy? I asked, swallowing hard, bracing myself for something even worse. Because of his obsession with his wife and the Taj Mahal, Shah Jahan spent all the taxes collected from the public, depleting the royal treasury and weakening the empire. In the end, his own son, the very son of Mumtaz, imprisoned him and seized the throne for himself. Oh my God, I frowned, stunned. They say he was confined in a room just across the Yamuna River, with only a small window from which he could see his beloved wife's mausoleum. Year after year, he spent his days staring at her final resting place until, one day, he passed away. I watched as her eyes glistened with unshed tears. Closing her eyes briefly, she sighed before continuing. His body was taken by boat across the river and laid to rest beside Mumtaz, just as he had wished. They were soulmates, destined to reunite in another world, this time forever. And that is why the Taj Mahal is called the symbol of love, because no one has ever loved another the way he loved her. She finished her story, her voice quiet yet full of emotion. I watched her intently. Her lips trembled slightly, and to keep them from quivering, she bit down on them. "You first control yourself, mate," my inner voice warned. I quickly looked away. Wow, that was all I could manage. She turned to me as I gazed at the Taj Mahal. The sunlight hit its pristine surface, making it gleam, and for a fleeting moment, just a moment, I saw Lavanya's smiling, blushing face superimposed over it, like a translucent vision of Mumtaz herself. What the hell? I blinked rapidly and shook my head, snapping myself out of that ridiculous thought. When she first began telling the story, I wasn't particularly interested. But the way her emotions shifted with every word, how deeply she felt every part of it, it drew me in. Somehow I found myself relating to the love story. The feelings I had for her made me understand just how devastating it must have been for Shah Jahan. Losing a loved one is painful, but losing the woman I love? No, I can't even bear to imagine it. Never, ever. She described how the king fell into despair, how he crumbled under the weight of his grief, his rule fading into history. But despite everything, he fulfilled his promise, and in the end, his only wish was to rest beside his beloved forever. It was a story that left me speechless, so all I could manage was a single awestruck wow. Now, I finally understood why this monument was one of the most admired wonders of the world. I could feel the love lingering in the air, woven into every stone of the Taj Mahal. But one thing I refused to believe, that no one could ever love like that again. It's not true. Maybe, just maybe, someone somewhere already loves like that. My gaze drifted back to her. She was resting her head against the seat, staring at the magnificent structure as it grew larger with every passing moment. Without thinking, I leaned back too, allowing myself to take in the view beside her. "From here, we'll need to take rickshaws. Be careful, those camels are not for play," a guide announced when the bus came to a halt. "Camels," I repeated, eyes wide in horror. "Yes," Lavanya answered casually, glancing at me before the guide could respond. "The rickshaws here are pulled by camels." "Why can't we just hire a car?" I countered, trying to find an escape from what sounded like an absolute nightmare. "Mr. Dawson, you really need to learn a few things about India," she replied, her tone laced with amusement. "Otherwise, you'll never fully enjoy it." "Honey, I'd love to learn, just not today. Because right now I am absolutely terrified of those giant beasts." But I tried to reason, but the guide cut me off. "All right, everyone, form a queue," the guide instructed, and people began stepping out of the bus. I, however, remained frozen in my seat. "Sir?" Her voice came from beside me. I turned to look at her. "Come on, hurry up, or we won't get a seat." She tugged at my arm, urging me forward. "Huh?" I swallowed hard. "Let's go last." "Do you think we're the only group visiting the Taj Mahal today?" She raised a brow, gesturing toward the window. "Just take a look outside." Tilting my head slightly, I peered through the glass, and my heart sank. A queue stretched almost a kilometer long, packed with eager tourists. "Shit," I muttered under my breath. "Now get up and move." She pushed my arm excitedly. "I don't want to be late. I've been dying to see the Taj Mahal up close." I wasn't thinking about her words. I wasn't thinking about anything except those massive camels. Slowly, reluctantly, I rose to my feet, but before I could fully process what was happening, she grabbed my hand and pulled me along with her, leading me toward the queue. And that's when I noticed it. Her hand in mine. My left hand wrapped in her right. She had never touched me like this before. Every time she had, it was to push me away, but now she was holding my hand. And just like that, a smile stretched across my lips.
Lavanya's POV. We joined the queue, and I kept glancing ahead to see if the line was moving. Relax, Mr. Dawson said from behind me. I turned to look at him and giggled. I'm just impatient, I admitted honestly. He chuckled. I can see that. As I turned my head back, my eyes landed on Virat sir walking toward us. He was moving quickly, but then slowed down, his expression shifting as he stared at something. Curious, I followed his gaze, and that's when I saw it. Mr. Dawson's hand was in mine. A jolt of realization hit me. I had been dragging him along the entire time and had never let go. My heart skipped a beat, and I immediately released his hand, clutching my dupatta instead. What are you doing, Lavanya? My conscience scolded. I could feel Mr. Dawson's amused gaze on me. He had noticed the way I pulled away so abruptly, and I knew it must have stung a little. Well, I thought we'd sit together, Lavanya. Virat sir teased as he reached us, throwing a pointed glance at Mr. Dawson, who simply huffed and shook his head in irritation. Of course, sir. I saved a spot for you here, I said quickly, gesturing to the space in front of me. He joined the queue, greeting Mr. Dawson politely. Good afternoon, Mr. Dawson. Mr. Dawson didn't reply, just shot him a cold glare. I rolled my eyes. Oh God. Virat sir knew very well that Mr. Dawson disliked him, yet he kept provoking him. Couldn't he just maintain a peaceful silence, at least for this trip? After 15 minutes of slow progress, we finally reached the rickshaw stand, and my heart danced with excitement. We approached one of the rickshaws, and Virat sir asked the owner about the fare. 200 rupees per person, the driver announced. My jaw dropped. How dare he? Dawson politely. Good afternoon, Mr. Dawson. Mr. Dawson didn't reply, just shot him a cold glare. I rolled my eyes. Oh God. Virat sir knew very well that Mr. Dawson disliked him, yet he kept provoking him. Couldn't he just maintain a peaceful silence, at least for this?
Jackie's POV. When the rickshaw driver said the fare was only 200 rupees per person, I felt richer. Wow, just 200. That was practically nothing. If James were here, he'd probably be jumping for joy. India isn't such a bad place to travel after all. I was grinning to myself when suddenly I heard Lavanya's loud voice. What? All three of us, Virat, the driver, and I, turned to stare at her in shock. What just happened? Bahaya, pagal ho kya up, she shouted, eyes wide with disbelief. Virat sir immediately tried to calm her down. Lavanya, what are you doing? Relax, we can talk this through. What on earth is going on? Alright, sir, he's trying to scam us, she snapped, pointing at the driver. I blinked in confusion. Scam us? How? Oye, hello. She snapped her fingers at the driver, who suddenly looked a lot less confident. Foreigner dek kebewa kuf banara he hohan. Complaint kardungi tumhari samche. Hum Hindustani hain, asi rupai dungi bas. Use ek rupai bi ziyada, nahi. Mujhe ache se pata hai jo tum logo ne ye loot, makaraki hai yahan pe. Bechara akela hota to tumne to aj isko kangal hi kardeni thi? Hai na. She said something, gesturing at me. Wait, is she talking about me? I kept shifting my gaze between her and the driver, who now looked utterly terrified under her fiery glare. Tum logon ki wajah se desh ka nam kharab hota hai, sharam nai ati, jistali main kate ho usi main ched karte ho. She kept scolding him, her voice sharp and commanding. I stood there, utterly dumbfounded. I had only managed to pick up a few words, foreigner and complaint, but from the driver's expression it was clear that Lavanya was giving him a proper verbal thrashing. What the hell is wrong with her? Are meri Hindustani ma, chalo, Mere ko kya malum da ki foreigner ke saath farat marabi aayi hai. The driver muttered under his breath, glancing between Lavanya and me. Ye tum himmat deki iski? Kia matlab haan? Kaya matlab? She planted her fists on her waist, cocked her head, and started advancing toward him like a warrior ready to charge. I'd never seen her like this before. It was a terrifying sight. I gulped in horror. Lavanya, please calm down. People are watching. Virat grabbed her arm, pulling her back before she could go any further. She took a deep breath and settled down, but not before giving the driver one last intimidating glare. Tieno ka doso chalis. Bas. Chalo abhi. She nodded firmly, and the driver, now thoroughly shaken, silently agreed. Virat sighed, shaking his head. Lavanya. R.A., you know 50 is more than enough, sir, but we're still giving him 80 per person. How can he just cheat non-Indians like that? She huffed, glancing at me when she said non-Indian. Non-Indian? Was all of this because of me? Wait, what are you guys talking about? I finally asked, unable to hold back my curiosity any longer. She opened her mouth to reply, but that jackass Virat held up a hand to stop her. You breathe first, he said before turning to me. The guy was asking for 200 rupees per person, which is way too much. He saw you and figured you weren't Indian, so he tried to take advantage of the opportunity to overcharge us. Lavanya scolded him because he was trying to scam us. Oh, wait, what? But 200 is too little. I was confused. No, the actual fare should be between 50 and 100 per person. Lavanya bargained it down to 80. And by the way, he added in a hushed tone, women here can't live without bargaining. I glanced at Lavanya, who rolled her eyes at the comment, clearly still annoyed. She was too pissed off for me to ask anything else, so I swallowed my questions along with my nerves. They bargain like that? I almost felt bad for the driver. Even though he had been trying to scam me, he could have earned a little extra today. Poor guy. Lavanya took her seat, and Virat sat to her right. That left me no choice but to sit on her left.
Lavanya's POV. The moment I settled into the rickshaw, I realized something unfortunate. Both enemies were sitting on either side of me. At once, I had this weird foreboding feeling. This journey is not going to end well. Someone is definitely going to get hurt by the end of the day. I turned to my right, glancing at Virat sir. He was smiling at me like he had already won some invisible battle. Slowly, I turned my head left, sneaking a glance at Mr. Dawson from the corner of my eye. He wasn't looking at me. His eyes were locked on the Taj Mahal, completely lost in thought. And yet I couldn't stop staring at him. In that moment, he didn't seem like a boss, a monster, or an unsociable man. None of the things I had once thought of him as. Instead, he looked like an American man who had no family, who had lost everything in his childhood, who had worked tirelessly for his company, who missed his parents at every special moment of his life. A man who loved homemade food, who enjoyed my cooking, who had no real understanding of India and its people, who was innocent, childlike, a pure soul like a small boy. What is he to me? Suddenly, I felt an arm rest lightly on the small of my back, unexpected and unfamiliar. Startled, I turned my head only to realize it wasn't Mr. Dawson's hand. It was Virat sir's. I shot him a questioning glance, but he simply smiled at me and looked straight ahead, his face carrying an unmistakable sense of pride. As soon as the rickshaw jolted forward, Mr. Dawson instinctively gripped the left armrest of his seat and at the same time clasped my left hand with his right. My eyes flickered down to our hands. I didn't pull away this time. I understood. He wasn't doing it on purpose. He was startled by the sudden movement. He had never experienced something like this before. So instead of retreating, I squeezed his hand gently, offering silent reassurance. He turned to look at me, his grip tightening for just a moment. Our eyes met for only a couple of seconds before I turned away, looking back at the road ahead. But those 2 seconds were enough. Enough to steady him, enough to steady me. Virat sir didn't notice. His hand still rested on my back, a presence that felt strange. But the moment Mr. Dawson's fingers brushed against mine, that strangeness disappeared. And yet, I couldn't understand the difference. A few minutes later, we finally arrived at the grand entrance. The massive gates loomed before us, security checks lined up at every turn. And then, at last, we stepped into the world of the Taj Mahal.